Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're wrestling with a single, incredibly dense case file. It's a story that it spans 17 years, crosses the entire country, and ultimately it forces us to confront some of the darkest secrets a small town can possibly keep.
It really does. I mean, we've got a family that's just defined by illness and this deep, simmering resentment.
And a murder victim from long ago who it turns out was much more complicated than her reputation suggested.
Exactly. So the investigator, she's hired to clear the name of this fugitive son, but what she finds is a trail of betrayals that leads right back to the very people who hired her in the first place.
The source material here is it's a masterclass in how a seemingly simple murder case can get so layered. You add in decades of family toxicity.
And civic hypocrisy. Our mission today is to, move past that initial narrative. The easy assumption is that the fugitive son, he's the killer. But we need to synthesize this incredibly complex web of small-town crime, deep-seated family drama, and the really surprising motive that fueled not one, but 3 distinct deaths.
So let's talk about the man who kicks this whole thing off again. Bailey Fowler. 17 years ago, he was, 23?
Just 23 years old. He's arrested for the murder of his ex-sweetheart, Jean Timberlake, who was only 17.
And he very quickly takes a plea bargain, but not for the murder. It's on a related armed robbery charge.
Yeah, and he serves this, it's a token sentence, 18 months of a 1 to 10-year sentence at Chino.
Which everyone famously calls the country club of prisons.
Right. And then he engineers this spectacular escape. And for 17 years, he's just gone.
Yeah.
Now, all this time later, he's been rearrested.
And that is exactly where our investigator steps in. Her client is Bailey's father, Royce Fowler.
Yeah, and Royce is terminal. We find out later it's widespread, debilitating cancer. He's operating under this fierce, singular drive.
He has to clear his son's name before he dies.
He makes that crystal clear. He tells the investigator, the case has to be, and this is a quote, squared away before I go.
That urgency, it puts this existential timer on the whole investigation. It raises the stakes for everyone.
It absolutely does.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with the clients, the Fowler family themselves, because they're the definition of a pressure cooker environment.
Oh, absolutely. The initial meeting with the Fowlers, it immediately sets this dynamic that's rooted in tension, in illness, and a really visible lack of affection.
So tell me about Royce, the patriarch. He's the one demanding justice.
Right. So Royce Fowler is described as a man who was once, physically imposing, 6'4", robust, but his illness has left him shrunken.
He lost a lot of weight.
Maybe 30 pounds. He looks like a farmer. Or the file says a roustabout, someone whose life was spent in hard physical labor.
But he still has that intensity.
Oh, yeah. His ice blue eyes, his strong, gravelly voice, they maintain this fierce, unyielding determination about his son. The investigator notes right away that Royce's singular focus is Bailey.
And he's willing to pay for it?
A substantial bonus,
right,
plus free room and board at his motel, the Ocean Street Motel, to get the outcome he wants.
That strong preference for Bailey, that feels like a really crucial detail, especially when we meet his daughter, Anne.
Yes, Anne is. She's in her 40s. She's a high school guidance counselor, but she's on a leave of absence. She's been forced into this role of full-time caregiver.
So what does the investigator see in her? What's the tell?
The file uses this amazing phrase. It says she has apologetic features, which is just so telling.
Apologetic features, wow.
Yeah, she's dark-haired, and there's no clear family resemblance to Royce. She just seems, profoundly burdened, resentful, and just completely exhausted by her role.
She's constantly apologizing for everything.
For the state of the apartment, for her parents' demands, for the whole situation, and is completely trapped in this life of service, caring for a father who is visibly dying, but who only cares about the fate of the one child who left.
The preferred child, Bailey.
Right.
And the third piece of this dysfunctional trio is Orabelle, or Ori, the mother. Her illness isn't just a physical thing, is it? It's more of a psychological tool.
That's exactly it. That's where the term illness asthenia comes in. Ori is a brittle diabetic.
Which means her condition is genuinely serious.
Extremely serious. Her blood sugar is very difficult to regulate, making her condition fragile. It can lead to severe, rapid complications. But the investigator observes that Ori maximizes the performance of her illness.
She weaponizes it.
She's heavy-set, manipulative, and she insists on wearing this white cotton hospital gown, even at home in their jerry-built apartment, which is literally patched together from old motel rooms.
So any stress, any mention of Bailey,
and her condition immediately flares up. It forces all the attention right back onto her and requires Anne's immediate intervention. So Anne is managing a terminal father and a mother who uses her fragile health to control the entire emotional climate of the home.
It sounds absolutely stifling. The investigator summarizes their home life as having a dour, fundamentalist mentality. What does that even imply?
It implies this deep well of moral rigidity, judgmentalism, repression. This is not a family that's built on open communication.
Oh.
It's built on suppressed resentments and a strict adherence to duty, even when that duty is actively destroying the person performing it.
Which is Anne. Her whole life has been sacrificed to this joyless, rigid structure.
And Royce is just sentimental about Bailey, the prodigal son, but he seems completely blind to the quiet desperation of the daughter who stayed behind.
That dynamic, that parental favoritism and forced duty, it feels like the foundation for everything that's about to happen.
It's the foundational motive for the crimes we're about to uncover.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about the man who caused all this trouble in the first place. Bailey Fowler. Before the murder, what was his criminal history? Because it certainly doesn't scream master criminal.
Oh, not even close. Far from it. Bailey was initially on parole for armed robbery. He and a friend, this guy named Tap Granger, they were involved in these small-time nickel-and-dime jobs.
Hitting gas stations, that kind of thing.
Exactly. The investigator calls them rank amateurs. They wore pantyhose over their heads.
Pantyhose, seriously.
Which just immediately suggests incompetence and desperation. Tap was the one who carried the gun, not Bailey.
So Bailey gets convicted for the robbery, serves his 18 months at the country club, and gets out.
He does, and then he immediately spirals. The file mentions cocaine and marijuana. This is all happening right before the murder of Jean Timberlake.
And then when he escapes after the plea deal, he vanishes. But he doesn't just hide. He erases Bailey Fowler and creates this whole new person, Peter Lambert.
This is maybe the most extraordinary part of the whole story. The 17 years Bailey spent as Peter Lambert were a profound, successful case of wealth reinvention.
So he didn't just lay low.
Not at all. He starts in miscellaneous sales jobs, but he climbs the corporate ladder. By the time they catch him, he's the Western Division Manager for a clothing manufacturer in Los Angeles.
Wow. And what did his colleagues say?
They were stunned, absolutely stunned by his past. They described Peter Lambert as hardworking, competent, outgoing, articulate, active in church and community affairs.
He built an entire respectable life from scratch. The difference between the two personalities, Bailey the amateur thief and Peter the polished executive, it's just stunning.
It's a complete transformation.
So now that he's caught, the legal reality is much more complicated than just the 17-year-old murder. His lawyer, Jack Clemson, has a mess on his hands.
A huge mess.
Oh.
Clemson estimates that Bailey is facing the remaining years of his original robbery sentence, whatever was left of that 1 to 10 plus, an additional 16 months to 2 years just for the felony escape charge.
But the lawyer provides a really key piece of information about that original murder case.
He does, and this is crucial. He confirms the DA at the time, a guy named George DeWitt, only got the plea deal for Jean Timberlake's murder because they were, and I quote, short of hard evidence.
The whole case was circumstantial.
Entirely. It was all based on Bailey's prior record and the public sentiment against him at the time. He was essentially convicted by reputation, not by facts, which is why Roy still believes so fiercely that his son is innocent.
Before we move on, we have to talk about the setting. The investigator is based in this town, Floral Beach. It's a small, isolated resort town, but she's there in the off-season.
Right, and that's important. Floral Beach itself is tiny, 6 streets long, 3 streets wide. Normally it's a bustling resort. But in the off-season, it's sparse and just, defined by this chilly, relentless ocean air.
And her accommodations are not exactly 5-star.
No. The Ocean Street Motel is painted this jarring lime green, and it's situated uncomfortably close to an oil refinery.
That's a grim picture.
It is. And this detail is crucial because it's a dreary, polluted environment that stands in stark contrast to her own life, which she has recently rebuilt.
She keeps thinking about her life back in Santa Teresa with her landlord, Henry.
All the time. Henry Pitts, her elderly landlord and protector, her internal monologue really emphasizes the emotional and physical drain of entering the Fowler's toxic world. It makes her appreciate her own carefully reconstructed piece even more.
So the lawyer's admission that the original murder case was built on, quicksand. It means we have to look away from Bailey for a moment.
We have to. We have to focus entirely on the victim, Jean Timberlake.
Because if Bailey didn't do it,
Then someone at Floral Beach did. And the answer has to be buried somewhere in Jean's complicated, tragically short life.
she was murdered at 17. What do we know about her?
Her photos show dark hair, a wide and sensual mouth, and this remote gaze. It hints at a maturity beyond her years, suggesting she knew something the rest of us might not be aware of yet.
And her school records show a pretty rapid decline, right? She had a high IQ, but her grades just plummeted.
They did. And she started racking up frequent detentions right around the time she hit puberty. That decline coincided precisely with her reputation taking a serious hit in the community.
This is where we get to that awful label.
Yes. She was known widely for promiscuity. They called her the town round heel.
It's such a heavy, judgmental term.
And it's especially cruel because her mother, Shayna Timberlake, carried the exact same stigmatizing label.
The investigator talks to one of Jean's former classmates, right? David Paletti, who's now the town dentist.
She does, and he confirms the brutal rumor mill. He describes boys being lined up like a pack of dogs for her attention. He calls her insatiable.
But he also offers a more thoughtful take on it.
He does. He speculates that maybe she was using sex as a way to dominate the boys who were chasing her, or maybe it was a desperate quest for the old-fashioned respect that this judgmental tan was actively denying her.
The tragedy is she was looking for validation in the one place they would never, ever grant it.
Precisely.
The story gets deeper when we look at her parentage. She was illegitimate, and her mother, Shauna, she just refused to name the father.
Flat out refused. But Jean had her suspicions, and she had some evidence to back them up.
What was that?
Jean suspected the father was respectable, local, and critically, that he had been sending her money through the mail for years, probably anonymously.
So she was trying to find him.
She was actively trying to find out who this powerful man was before she died. This desire for acknowledgement from a respectable, powerful father figure, it adds a whole other layer to her motivation, and it makes her a huge threat to the town's elite.
And then comes the revelation that just puts the whole case on a knife's edge.
The pregnancy.
Jean was pregnant when she died.
And the stakes immediately become catastrophic. Bailey confirms the pregnancy, but is adamant the baby wasn't his. He cites being temporarily out of order because of his drug and alcohol use after Chino.
So he confirms what the investigator suspected.
Exactly. The father was married, respectable, and had a lot to lose.
And Jean was smart about it. She got the pregnancy test done at a clinic out of town in Lompoc, specifically to keep her identity a secret.
She knew exactly how explosive this information was.
In the final piece of this timeline, she went to the family physician, Dr. Dunn, on the very day she died,
pleading for an illegal abortion, which he refused.
So that means multiple powerful people in Floral Beach knew exactly how high the stakes were just hours before she was murdered.
It absolutely does. You have a pregnant teenager who is actively looking for her respectable father, threatening to expose him and ruin his life and his reputation. So now the suspect pool it expands dramatically beyond the low-life fugitive Bailey.
The focus shifts entirely
to the pillars of the community, the men who had the most to lose from the truth about Jean Timberlake coming out.
This is where it gets really interesting. The small-town respectability is crumbling, and the investigator, she goes straight for the moral high ground. Let's start with the minister, Reverend Hawes.
The irony here is it's so rich. Reverend Hawes is a highly respected Baptist minister in Floral Beach. He's the man who offered Royce Fowler spiritual counsel during this whole ordeal.
But the investigator learns he was having an affair with Jean. How?
Through John, a local pharmacist. He's the one who fills Hawes's frequent prescriptions. And John reveals that he saw Jean cleaning the Sunday school rooms.
Oh, no.
And that Hawes would engage in sexual activity with her right there on his office desk.
That is it's deeply shocking. And Hawes's wife, June, she adds this layer of disturbing psychological context to the whole affair.
She does.
Yeah.
June Hawes suffers from this peculiar chronic illness. The source describes it almost like a stigmata, continuous, unexplained affliction that requires these frequent specialized prescriptions.
And the timing is suspicious.
The investigator notes the illness seems to have sprung up right around the same time as her husband's affair with Jean. The implication is chilling. Maybe she was manifesting this illness, consciously or subconsciously. Or maybe Hawes was using her fragile state as emotional cover for his activities.
Either way, a minister compromising his moral standing completely with a minor.
Completely.
Okay, next up, the academic leader of the town, Dwight Shales, the high school principal. Did he confess willingly?
Oh, no, she had to corner him.
Yeah.
The way she did it was masterful. Shales finally admits to an affair with Jean, which happened around the time his wife was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
He was looking for comfort.
Comfort and distraction, and Jean was available. But he's brutally honest with the investigator about his own self-interest. He confesses he was actually relieved when Jean died.
Relieved.
Because a public scandal would have ruined his life.
Yeah.
He acknowledged the baby might have been his and that Jean, being aggressive about getting what she wanted, was perfectly capable of insisting on marriage to secure her future. The investigator notes the pure, unadulterated selfishness in his confession.
So we have the minister, the principal, and finally the doctor, the last pillar of the community, Dr. Dunn. He already admitted he saw Jean about the abortion.
Right, but there's so much more to him and his family. He's in a very difficult position. We know he saw Jean on the day she died. But the more crucial details revolve around his wife, Elva, and their business.
What's her story?
Elva is a paranoid schizophrenic, and yet she is his business partner. She manages the books for their successful enterprise, Eucalyptus Mineral Hot Springs.
The local spa.
And crucially, the Dunns bought that spa the very same year Jean Timberlake was murdered.
Wow. Okay, that's a huge red flag.
It is. The doctor is hiding his prior knowledge of Jean's pregnancy, his relationship with Jean's mother, Shenna. But he seems terrified of his violent, paranoid wife finding out. The spa purchase, right after the murder, hints at a major financial shift, potentially related to silencing someone.
It's a stunning sequence of revelations. I mean, the most respected men in Floral Beach were either sleeping with the victim or actively concealing the truth about her final hours.
This fundamentally shifts the entire investigation away from the fugitive son.
The circumstantial case against Bailey is basically dead at this point.
It is. We now have three powerful, married men with absolutely everything to lose who are all actively trying to manage or suppress Jean's secret.
But just as we're focused on them, the attention snaps right back to Bailey. Or rather, to the fallout from his past.
Yeah.
There's this jolt of pure action at his arraignment.
Yes. His old armed robbery partner, Tap Granger, attempts this spectacular but ultimately fatal rescue.
It's just a brazen Hollywood-level failure.
Completely. Tap storms into the courtroom shouting, "Freeze!" He's got a shotgun. He fires, shatters an overhead light, and it's just pure pandemonium.
And Bailey sees his chance.
He reacts instantly, leaps over the wooden railing and just flees. Tap fires again, hits a framed photo of the governor, and then the police return fire and kill Tap instantly.
And just like that, Bailey's public image is transformed. He's not just a fugitive who escaped prison anymore.
No. Within minutes, he's a killer on the loose who just facilitated a violent courthouse attack.
But the investigator, who is just observant above all else, she finds this microscopic detail in the chaos that unravels that entire narrative of murderous intent.
She is looking through the debris on the courtroom floor, the plaster, the shattered glass, and she notices these tiny white specks.
And she realizes
Tap Granger's shotgun was loaded with rock salt, not deadly ammunition.
that revelation is absolutely key.
It changes everything. Tap's intent was just to scare people, to create a massive diversion, and help Bailey escape using non-lethal means. He died for a plan that was designed to be scary, not deadly.
And Royce Fowler, the father, he's horrified by it all.
He sinks down asking, "Where's my boy?" They'll shoot him down like a dog. He was clearly unaware of the specifics of Tap's desperate plan, but Bailey's instantaneous flight, that confirmed the narrative for the police. He was complicit.
The immediate fallout from this failed escape is a huge escalation. The investigator is now squarely in the crosshairs. She goes back to her motel room.
Her dreary lime green motel room, only to find the external threat has become internal.
Her room has been broken into?
Yeah, via the sliding glass door, the lock was jimmied. And there are two really important sensory details here. The air is scented with wet sand, and she finds a faint heel print on the carpet.
Which suggests it's a local.
Someone who has access, knows the area, specifically the beach entrance of the motel. It is a clear, local warning shot to get out of Floral Beach.
And the intimidation campaign just escalates from there. She starts getting these anonymous phone threats.
Always late at night, 2:47 a.m. It's meant to disrupt her sleep, to generate paranoia. The voice is low, gravelly, and slurred.
And she deduces the caller is not just local, but is enjoying it.
Exactly. They're enjoying the harassment, seeing it as a game to generate maximum anxiety. This shifts her focus dramatically from solving an old murder to just ensuring her own survival.
She goes out and buys a gun.
Immediately.
Yeah.
A new Davis .32 handgun and a custom shoulder rig. She knows the person behind the break-in, and the calls is local, within her immediate environment, and highly dangerous.
And then the violence escalates inside the Fowler family itself. It eliminates one of the central burdens of Anne's life. Or how Fowler, the mother, dies.
Suddenly, from convulsions right after Anne administers her routine insulin shot.
The timing is just impossible to ignore.
It happens right after Bailey's spectacular escape, at a moment of peak stress for the family. Detective Quintana, the lead homicide investigator, treats the scene with extreme suspicion.
And Anne is beside herself with guilt.
She's repeating this chilling line, "I actually stood there and injected this stuff. How am I going to live with that?"
But she reveals a critical medical detail under all that stress.
She does. She reveals that Ori was highly allergic to penicillin. The death is so suspicious that all the linens, all the medical paraphernalia, it's immediately seized for forensic testing.
And the first suspicion has to be Bailey, right? The killer on the loose. Maybe he orchestrated it to get an inheritance or something.
That's the natural first thought. But the investigator, remembering the break-in, the phone calls, she's starting to look much, much closer to home. Anne was the one holding the needle. Anne's life was completely ruled by Ori's illness as theater.
The death of Ori, combined with the harassment, it's starting to paint a very clear picture of someone local, deeply entrenched in the Fowler family structure, actively trying to sabotage the investigation.
And potentially securing their own freedom in the process.
Meanwhile, the investigator presses on with the original murder case. She tries to get more out of Jean Timberlake's mother, Shanna.
And Shayna is still holding on to the secret of Jean's father. She cites some kind of deal to keep his identity hidden, even though she admits she was trying to track him down before Jean died.
But she's also struggling financially. The investigator asks her about that hidden $42,000 from the robbery.
Right, the money Tap claimed he and Bailey hid. Shanna just laughs. She says she wouldn't be living in a dump if she had access to that kind of money.
So that confirms two things. Shayna is poor, and if the money exists, she doesn't have it.
Which makes her a less likely candidate for being this powerful figure Jean was trying to expose.
This focus leads the investigator back to the eucalyptus mineral hot springs and to Dr. Dunn. She finds evidence that he's been lying about his contact with Shanna.
A hidden, non-lethal note from Dr. Dunn to Shanna. It suggests they had a recent meeting, probably prompted by the renewed public scrutiny after Bailey's arrest. So Dr. Dunn was actively trying to manage Shanna and her secrets.
And the confrontation at the spa is intensely physical. She confronts Elva Dunn, the wife.
The paranoid schizophrenic wife who handles the books, and Elva just goes for the kill.
It's a sudden, terrifying attack.
Elva recognizes the investigator, and without any warning, just violently attacks her, wielding a tennis racket like a hatchet. The investigator has to punch Elva hard in self-defense. It's this moment she reflects on as a surge of ancient chemistry, pure, immediate physical combat.
So it confirms the Dunns are heavily involved and desperate.
Desperate to keep the secrets of the spa, its purchase, and their potential connection to Jean's father quiet.
She manages to escape and corners Dr. Dunn, who's terrified of his wife. What does he finally admit about Shayna?
He admits Shanna's keys were found at the clinic. It means Shanna had driven there for a meeting with him that went horribly wrong. He confirms he knew Shanna from years ago, maybe hinting at a deeper connection than just being Jean's doctor. He is just paralyzed by the fear that Elva, his volatile accountant wife, will find out.
So the pieces are coming together. Foul play at the spa. The investigator then finds Shayna's car.
Her battered green Plymouth near the hot springs fire lane, all 4 tires flat.
And this leads to the grim final discovery.
She finds Shanna's body, feet first, violently jammed into the hidden heater and pumpworks compartment of the sanctuary hot tub. This confirms Shanna was murdered after driving there for that meeting, likely by someone who knew the intimate workings of the spa.
And before she can even process this discovery, Elva Dunn appears with a gun.
Yes, attempting to prevent the discovery. It's the ultimate confirmation of the Dunns' involvement in Shanna's death, though maybe not Jean's. The investigator kicks the gun away. Elva tumbles down the hill, screaming.
So with the victim's mother now dead, killed right in the middle of this investigation, and those anonymous local threats still hanging in the air.
The investigator knows the true killer is close, desperate, and deeply, deeply connected to the Fowler family.
The trail leads her right back to the Fowler compound, specifically to the locked room 20, which is part of their apartment right next door to where she's staying.
And she has to break in. The process itself is just agonizing. She uses her lock-picking tools, working slowly, painstakingly in the dark. The time it takes really emphasizes the risk she's taking. She knows the person who lives here is armed, local, and dangerous,
And once she's inside, the discoveries are staggering, a perfect storm of evidence.
linking Ann Fowler to the sabotage and the murders.
Okay, what are the three key pieces of evidence she finds in that room?
First, she finds reloading equipment for a shotgun, which immediately connects the owner of this room to Tap Granger's rock salt rescue attempt.
So this person was helping Tap, or at least involved in the planning.
Right. Second, and this is the most damning part, she finds a microcassette recorder. She plays the recording of those low, gravelly, slurred, threatening phone calls. And by adjusting the playback speed,
She realizes it's Ann Fowler's voice.
unquestionably, the threats weren't just random paranoia, they were psychological abuse, a game Anne was playing while trapped, hoping to scare the investigator away.
Anne, the dutiful, quiet guidance counselor. She was actively sabotaging the investigation and terrorizing the very person her father hired.
Yes, she was the trapped caregiver lashing out. The third piece of evidence provides the ultimate motive. It's a shoebox.
And inside.
Inside is a full set of ID, social security card, driver's license, passport, all under the name Erica Dahl. But the photograph is Ann Fowler's,
A hidden identity.
a purely financial one. Inside the box are Merrill Lynch statements detailing a $42,000 investment in IBM stock made way back in 1967.
And the connection to the original crime is immediate and devastating. $42,606 was the exact amount Tap Granger claimed he and Bailey stole in that armed robbery.
The money Bailey never saw a dime of.
That is the 20-year financial fuse that drove this entire tragedy.
Exactly. And the dutiful, resentful sister had stolen her brother Bailey's hidden money right after the armed robbery. She created the persona of Erica Dahl to manage the investment, and she watched that 42 grand double in value over 17 years.
This money was her one true path to freedom.
She was living two lives. Ann Fowler, the exhausted, trapped caregiver, and Erica Dahl, the wealthy, independent woman whose future was secured.
The irony is just excruciating. Bailey, the criminal, was cleared of the murder because he was innocent, but his initial crime, the robbery, was the very thing that trapped and poisoned his sister, turning her into a calculated killer.
Precisely. Once Bailey was arrested again, the new investigation into that 17-year-old murder threatened to expose the real motive for Ann's carefully constructed existence, the stolen money. Her entire financial freedom rested on keeping that secret buried.
And the confrontation is immediate and violent. Anne confronts the investigator with a shotgun, and she's finally free to confess the entire long-simmering plot.
Yes, and she admits to killing Gene Timberlake all those years ago. Her motivation wasn't passion. It was cold, calculated resentment and self-preservation.
She is jealous of Bailey.
Intensely jealous of him being the preferred child, the one their parents doted on. She hated the smothering care her sick mother required. And she knew Gene, the promiscuous pregnant teenager, was the instrument of Bailey's inevitable ruin.
If Gene exposed her respectable father, it would cause a scandal that would ruin the whole family.
Ruin Bailey, ruin the family's finances, and crucially, prevent Anne from ever getting her full inheritance, or, more importantly, the freedom she planned to buy with the stolen money. Gene was an obstacle to Anne's future.
And the killing didn't stop there. She also admits to killing her mother, Ori, just days before this confrontation.
She confesses she deliberately killed Ori. She used the insulin injection, switching the medication in the syringes to include a high dose of penicillin, which she knew Ori was fatally allergic to.
She saw her mother not as a person, but as a burden.
A crushing burden preventing her escape. Ori's death, coupled with Royce's terminal state, was her final desperate move to secure her complete financial freedom. She planned to use the now doubled $42,000 and her inheritance to just sail away, possibly with the newly widowed Principal Shales.
The entire sequence just paints this devastating picture of a woman driven to murder by icy, calculated resentment of her own family, a lifetime spent as the unappreciated secondary child.
It's a tragedy that's born of parental failure. Anne's entire plot, the theft, creating Erica Dahl, the two murders, the psychological harassment, it was all purely a means of escaping that suffocating, dour fundamentalist mentality that trapped her in Floral Beach.
And the violent conclusion to this drama is it's tragic and profoundly sad. Royce Fowler, the terminal patriarch who started this whole investigation, manages to check himself out of the hospital.
Anne walks right into the climax. He enters the room with a photo album, a heartbreaking symbol of the family life he desperately wanted to preserve, right as his daughter is holding a shotgun.
The investigator sees her chance.
She does. And it's a huge risk, But she immediately tells Royce the truth. Anne killed Jean Timberlake. Royce is described as just stunned, his face trembling with disbelief and terminal weakness.
But he tries to intervene. He struggles with Anne for the shotgun.
He struggles, but Royce is a dying man. He's weakened by cancer. He's no match for Anne's desperate, furious strength. She snatches the gun back, and in the struggle, it fires.
The blast fills the room.
But it doesn't hit the investigator or Royce. It blows away most of Anne's right foot.
She sinks down, defeated and wounded, and delivers the ultimate condemnation to the father she hated.
The line is just devastating. You were never there for me. You were never there.
That moment is the psychological centerpiece of the entire case. Anne's murders weren't really about the money or even about Jean. They were about a lifetime of feeling unseen and unloved by a father who only showed affection for the favored son.
And the investigator, watching this all unfold, reflects on her own life. She recognizes the deep, lasting wounds inflicted by fathers, or the lack thereof.
This dive was incredibly dense. It spanned decades of crime and layers of social and familial decay. We uncovered the dark truth behind Floral Beach's pillars, the reverend, the principal, the doctor, and we tracked the violent ends of Jean, Tap, Ori, and Shana.
And the central theme is this: the suffocating pressure cooker of a small town combined with deep-seated family resentments, the favored son versus the neglected daughter, and this crucial information asymmetry, specifically that hidden $42,000. It created a catastrophic chain of events that only violence could resolve.
Anne built the alter ego of Erica Dahl to protect her financial dream of freedom,
while Anne Fowler remained the resentful, trapped daughter. And when Bailey's arrest threatened to expose that financial independence, Anne destroyed everyone in her path to protect Erica Dahl's future.
It's fascinating how the investigator uses this entire toxic mess as a mirror for her own life. She has this moment of acceptance about her own chosen family structure.
She does. She ends the case with a new perspective on her own protector, Henry Pitts. She recognizes him as the closest thing to a father she might ever have, and she resolves to simply enjoy him for the time we have left. She sees clearly the danger of demanding validation from a relationship that's destined to fail, like Race and Anne's did.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to consider. What happens to people when they realize their only path to true freedom, financial, emotional, or geographical, requires the complete and utter destruction of the very family structure and community that define them?
And the question is whether freedom, achieved through that kind of destruction, is ever truly free.
That is a deep question to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.